Hello and welcome to another video tutorial. Today I wanted to show you how to make a cupcake plate and to dress up a presentation of cupcakes if you're giving them to somebody who you either won't see again or you don't want to have them expect you to give a plate back or something like that. So I wanted to try this out, and I've never really done this before, but I don't know why I haven't. I think it's really cool, and you use cardboard and things that you already have lying around the house, so it works. So the first thing we're going to do is measure out how big our cupcake plate needs to be. Now you can do this several ways. You can either grab a plate that you know will fit all of your cupcakes and then just trace around it, or even lay out the cupcake liners like I have here. I want to give them about 8, so I've laid them out here, and this way it lets you see how big you need to make it. So I have it going from the 7 mark to about the 17 mark, so I need to make like a 10-inch wide circle. I'll make it 11 inches just to be safe. And in the process I looked at my circle trimmer. This is from Making Memories, and this is the circle cutter that I usually use, and it only goes up to 9 inches, so that's not big enough. I've been meaning to get the Martha Stewart one that goes up to 12 inches. It looks kind of sturdy, and I think it'd be really cool, but I don't have that yet. So instead what I'm just going to do is grab a bowl, and this is a really big mixing bowl. It's actually what I used to make the cupcake batter in. And it looks like it'll fit right over where my cupcakes are, so I can go ahead and use this as my template. So the first thing I'm going to do is flip over. This is just a piece of corrugated cardboard, and I just have this. It was shipped with some paper that I bought online, so you can get this, or you can even cut apart a bigger box and then just use a panel of cardboard, and this will just make it stiff. You want it to be thick enough to hold up those 8 cupcakes, so just keep that in mind. And I'm going to use that, and then I'm also going to draw a circle on this piece of chipboard that I have and draw around it like this. And since the bowl stays the same size, you don't really have to worry about doing them at the same time or anything like that, because it's a good frame of reference. So my plan here is to cut out this circle, and you can see the way the lines run here. They run this direction, so it's more likely to bend and break this way. So I want to put the chipboard so that it's to balance out the weakness. So this bends easily this way, this bends easily this way, so I just want to switch this so that this is strong, it doesn't bend very easily this way, and it makes up for the weakness in the cardboard here. So I'm going to have those on top of each other, and I'm just going to glue those together with my ATG, and then I'll be back in a second with getting ready to decorate our board. Alright, so I've cut out my circles, and actually before I adhere them together, I think I'm going to adhere this onto the back, and you'll see why in a little bit. But first I'm going to adhere my pretty paper to the front, this is where the cupcakes will sit on. And I'm just going to actually flip it over. This is from Jelly Bean Soup, their atomic soup line, by the way. I'm just going to get it centered in the middle of this paper, and you'll see why in a second, because I want to cover up these edges here. So what I'm going to do is actually cut around the edge, but cut around with about a 1/2 inch of border around the edges. And you don't have to worry about making this circle pretty, just not getting too close to the cardboard. Next, what we'll do is make snips about every inch around the circle, and this will just help so that we can turn it to the other side easily and there won't be too many sharp corners. And then we can go ahead and adhere, or put some adhesive all the way around this edge here. This is where the little flaps will flip up and adhere, covering the raw edge of the cardboard. And the ATG is nice because it's really easy to turn it while you're adding adhesive. So I'm just turning the thing and turning my wrist in kind of a working together to get adhesive all around the circle. And now you just press down, making this nice little edge here, and then press the tabs into the board. So you can bring them around. And if you come across a tab that's too long or makes a sharp corner, you can always trim it in half and then treat those as two separate tabs. So I'm just going to go all the way around this board, and don't worry, this will be covered up by that piece of thinner chipboard. So you don't have to worry about making it look messy or anything like that. And then now that we have all of the tabs stuck down, you just roll this around on your table. And this will get rid of any corners that you have. So you see we have a perfectly covered circle, and you can barely tell that there's cardboard under here, except it's, you know, pretty sturdy, so definitely pretty cool. Well, since we're putting food on it, it is important to cover up the paper, especially since this is going to be cupcakes. They're kind of damp, and we don't want either the ink in the paper to bleed or smear or something like that, or for it to get greasy or look kind of gross. So I'm going to just take a piece of plastic wrap and put it down, and then I can lift it up, flip it over, and add some more adhesive, and this will keep it in place. Alright, and now that I have the plastic wrap stuck down, I'm just going to cut off this excess. It'll just make it a little bit less bulky. Not that you really have to do this step, but I'm kind of a perfectionist. And then next I'm going to use my ATG again to adhere this onto the piece of board that we just created. And I'm also going to use some really strong tape. You can use red line adhesive, or you can use score tape, or basically just something that'll really, really stick down. And I'm going to use that on a few edges around the outside. So I'm going to take little pieces of it, and I like this stuff because you can rip it. And I'm going to put it on edges like every few inches, just so that it sticks to the plastic wrap. Okay, so now that I have my chipboard with some really sticky adhesive on it, I'm going to look again at the way the paper bends. So this bends easily this way, and this would bend easily that same way. So I'm going to take it and turn it 90 degrees just to add some strength to it, and stick this right on top. And don't worry about getting it perfectly on top, because you can always trim off the excess. So I'm going to trim off a little bit of excess here. Alright, so I have my very sturdy board that's ready for some cupcakes. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add my cupcakes onto the board, and I'll be back in a second to dress it up. Alright, so I have my little cupcakes laid out here, and as you can see, I probably could have made the circle a little bit smaller, but I guess, you know, live and learn. Next time I'll use a little bit of a smaller bowl, that way I can easily wrap it up without having too much room to give there. But I've laid out two pieces of plastic wrap, making an X, so one going across this way and one going across this way. And I'm just going to take them and wrap them up like this. I've let the cupcakes sit for an hour or so after frosting them so that they're not too sticky. And I'm just going to bring up the plastic wrap like this, and this will keep it looking nice and clean, but it also protect the cupcakes. And then there we have it. You can pick up the cupcakes on the platter. You could probably even flip this over, but I'm not going to try. And then since I need to bring it with me in my car, I'm just going to put it in this bottom of a studio calico box, but any box would work. And I know as a scrapbooker I have lots of boxes because I get shipped things that are 12 by 12, so lots of boxes would work for this. But I'm just going to keep that in here, and that way it won't be able to slide too much in my car. I also want to make a card to go along with my little cupcake plate, and I wanted to say "You rock," and I think that'd be a really cute sentiment to go along with this. So I've pulled out some thickers and a scrap of the paper that I actually used to cover the plate. And it just happens that this fits perfectly to go along the card front like this. So I'm going to adhere it down to a piece of craft cardstock. And at first I'm going to ink the edge with some pumice stone distress ink. And for this little piece up here at the top, I'm going to use some glossy accents to really hold it down, because glossy accents makes a really good adhesive for little areas. And over here as well, might as well. And then I can trim off the excess, and I'll ink the other edges of the card as well. And now it's time to start lining up my letters. So I'll get these laid out, and first I want to make sure I have all the letters that I want, because the last thing you want to do is get all through laying them out and realize you don't have a U or something like that. And now I'll just use my clear ruler to lay them out and make sure that they're straight. This is especially helpful for ones like this that are foam, and they tend to kind of warp easily, so you get a chance to stick them out first and make sure they're evenly spaced before you adhere them down. Okay, and now that I have my words done and put on my ruler, I can go ahead and kind of place it where I think I want them to go, and then I'll stick them down. And I'm going to do rock first because it needs to fit in this whole little curve, and then I just adjust the letters as I stick them down to make sure that they're straight. And this one needs to go over a little bit. So you just kind of mess with them until you get them where you want them, and then really press them down, and then hold them down and lift up with your other hand, and then press the bottoms down. And that way you get straight letters every time, even when they're foam, which is kind of hard to work with. And so now I'm going to put down the U, just in the same way that I did the rock. Alright, so now that I have my letters stuck down, I think this corner up here needs a little bit of rounding. So I'm going to do that. And I'm actually going to round out this bottom one as well, just to balance it. And then of course ink the edges. And then I think it needs a little bit of stitching, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to use my ruler as a guideline. And then I'll do the same thing down here. So I'm going to add a large one and then 2 medium ones, just in line with where my stitching is. And then that finishes off the card. So it's a really simple card, very kind of Christina Werner-esque. I kind of like it like that. But this will go perfectly with the cupcakes. So yeah, here's the finished set together, and then here's a picture of the set together. And here's a picture of the cupcakes and of the card. I hope you enjoyed this little video tutorial, and we'll try this again next time you have to bring cupcakes to a friend or as a thank you present. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.